Can you give us
Okay.
an example of a character that you like and do the voice for us, please? Live. Uh, how
Yeah.
comfortable are
Yeah, I
you
can
with your
absolutely
characters?
do that.
I'm psychologist Dr. Bryan Violet, and in today's snapshot, we'll be looking at highlights from my conversation with Mitch Benes. He is my former roommate and longtime friend. We'll be discussing D&D, that's Dungeons and Dragons, and video games. This is the Catholic Sinner Show.
So I want to continue to try and draw out that terrified, handcuffed little child within
Yes.
you that's not allowed to have a life right now, and ask you more about your actual hobbies. So, Spider-Man, what level difficulty are you playing on?
I mean, medium. That's fun.
Okay.
Like Spider-Man's one of the easier games that I play. I don't think with video games I lost a lot of Twitch, just in general. Keeping it pretty light with Rocket League. That's the one that really keeps me going.
I just started playing that game with my son, and
Yeah.
I'm not competitively. It's just the two of us against the computer. It is
Yeah.
so funny because it's one of those games. I mean, he's 4, so he can't
Right.
really play games, but he can play that game, and you can't really screw it up. Not really. I mean,
Sure.
at a competitive level, like, sure, of course, there's a lot of strategy, but against the computer, like on the lowest difficulty, he can just smash into things and
Oh
occasionally
yeah,
score a
yeah. The
goal,
computer will
and
get it in for you.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
So for our listeners, our viewers out there, Rocket League is when you get into a car and play soccer in a car.
Yep. That's pretty much it.
That's where we're at in life. Soccer in a
What
car.
if soccer but with cars?
Yes. It's a very popular game though.
Yeah. But other than that, like my biggest hobby is Dungeons and Dragons. I love that.
Get out of
I
town.
do that
Did
every
you know
week.
that I play that? Did we ever talk about me playing that as well?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have. We just found a shared hobby. I think
There you go.
Dungeons and Dragons, or I know that's a scary concept actually to a lot of Catholics. I think left over from the 80s where
The 80s.
but people like it was introduced to the religious world as something satanic or something, and it's not. I mean, it's neutral. It's more complicated game of Monopoly, really, with just more rules. And it doesn't always have to be Dungeons and Dragons. There's different types of tabletop games, but I think that is the evolution of a gaming history, because when you game, you're limited. It's the same kind of experience as playing a tabletop role playing game, but there's railings, there's limitations on what you can do. There's still rules in a tabletop game, but it's limited by your imagination ultimately, which video games do limit you much more so. Do you
100%.
act? Do you do voices?
Yes, absolutely. That's the funnest part. Like coming up with these characters and your characters interact with them, and then they talk to this one character that you didn't flesh out. You have to come out with a voice on the fly and a whole backstory.
So you're a dungeon master.
Yeah. In fact, this next game that I'm running is pretty complex. So
is this all in person or online?
Online. We usually go through Roll20, but Roll20 has been kind of not kind to me with my rolls, so we might be exploring other things.
That's the thing about math. There's no superstition involved, actually. You roll a dice and it's rolling a dice. You could be suspicious about the programmers behind the software of Roll20, which roll the dice for you, or you can just accept that that's the way math works, right?
Yeah. Although I'm not going to, and I won't. So I don't know. I feel like Dungeons and Dragons is one of those things where it's like adjacent on pop culture nerd, because like you have the plethora of accepted nerd things like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter. Like these things are all pretty much like accepted and wrapped into culture. Even something like Pokemon. But then you step out and you go, okay, I'm into Dungeons and Dragons, and you have to like slide that in somehow, and then have kind of like this shared connection. Like, oh, okay,
There's still a
we're
level
on
of
the same
nerd.
page.
You could try
There
to normalize
is.
video games, but you know, there's still the
Yeah,
nerdiness out there that most people don't access. So I'm glad.
yeah. Even though it's
Can you give us
okay.
an example of a character that you like and do the voice for us, please? Live. How
Yeah,
comfortable are
yeah. I
you
can
with your
absolutely
characters?
do that.
Okay.
Okay. So, um, there was like you have all of these fun voices. Like you can do if you want to do somebody who's a bit menacing, a bit evil. Like there's this eternal king in my next campaign who kind of absorbs the life force of everybody in his kingdom, and you have this, deeper voice with a British affectation, and then you have kind of his toadies who are going to be a little bit higher on the register. You have the kind of right hand man who's going to be, yes sir, I will take care of that, absolutely. There's going to be kind of a main antagonist character who's here, who they're not going to know yet, but he has a different affectation in his voice. And so, like, if they're really paying attention, they'll notice one character that goes through all of these different areas with a different name and a different voice than everybody else. But yeah, that's pretty much it. And then you get like really fun characters where maybe it's like a anthropomorphic rat that talks like they're from New York, and it's like, "Hey, what do you want, buddy? I got your
Yeah.
stuff right here."
Yeah, that's your back alley thief, your back alley
Yeah,
hoodlum. Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My wares, they're hot. What can I say? But you
Yes.
better get them because they're good.
I appreciate a good character voice. I do them myself.
Yeah.
To me, it's a major difference playing online than it is in person. I think it's so much harder to play online. I think there are a lot of distractions, as you're very easily distracted by just being at your computer, having websites at your fingertips, games at your fingertips. I think people can tune out, and you could have one member of the group carrying the others, and it's problematic. But in person, there's all that stimulus between turns that allows you to kind of stay engaged rather than waiting, so
yeah, there's an interaction. There's like, you get snacks, you get beers, you get all of the things together, you're hanging out with your friends. Like there is a camaraderie to it that is amplified by just being in the same room.
yes,
So I completely get it, but yeah, sometimes it's not possible when you grow up and move away.
I know that's the challenging part, especially if you're accustomed to playing games online anyway. It's like an easy platform to just substitute a new content into. Well, that's exciting. I'm glad to hear that you play regularly. I didn't know that. So this is one of the ways in which you replenish yourself. That is officially a hobby.
It's officially a hobby, but the reasons I like it make it sound less like a hobby. Like I like I like the dungeon mastering because it is kind of a low stakes way to create systems and try to
Sure.
see like how you can get people to do the things that you want them to do to go through the story, and like creating that stuff on the fly and improvisation. It is essentially just management without having to deal with like corporations. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you get to give people the illusion of choice.
Yeah, that is a big thing that you do, because I cannot create infinite maps.
Yes.